Hello everyone and welcome to the next Metro monthly update video. This is for August.
Yep.
And I am the CEO and chairman, Derek Boyd, and this is...
I'm the president and secretary, Vladimir Stokalov. So let's get rolling into it. So this is actually going to be a proper update. We're not going to bum rush because we got a lot to cover. And I got to say, the results, me boy.
Ooh. Notice the background picture that we have chosen.
Because it is from rags to riches.
Oh, yeah, we did.
I was dealing with poop pipes and shoving my hand in shit, and now I'm back in the well.
I don't, but okay, we're doing good.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Here are the pictures of the completed project of 108. I'm going to go ahead and start showing them now. It is good. It's not up to our standards good, because we honestly just had to put a deadline on it. If we kept going, we'd still be working on the house today, and we could not afford to neglect our business anymore. So what we did is that after the last video, Derek and I had a talk, and we decided to set a hard deadline of us being completely done, everything out of the house, and it advertised by August 12th. So some of the things we did cut corners on, I'll be honest, we didn't fully finish like some of the cabinetry stuff in the kitchen, like some of the drawers and whatnot. They don't have any faceplates on them. We did, there's a little bit of a lean on the corner island cabinet that we never got around to fixing. A lot of, what are they called? Like decorative pieces, like that stuff you would... Yeah, the trim. A lot of the trim, we just said, nope, not dealing with it.
We also had a hard time trying to find the trim because the problem is it's not standard trim that you get in a regular home. It's mobile home trim, which is that super thin stuff. Like,
and the thing is, when you do find it, it's like $4 for like 8 feet, and this stuff literally breaks if you sneeze on it wrong.
Yeah.
It's so brittle and thin. It's not worth the cost. You could literally pay $5 to get something thick that will actually last you for a pretty good while.
Yeah, so we repurposed some of the trim that we had left from like when we took it off of walls and covered it over with something else, and we put it back in some of the other areas, kind of patched some holes and whatnot. But the problem is that once again, we couldn't exactly find the exact same type of trim because it's an older model. It's a 90s or an 80s or whatever it is. I think it's a 90s model. So the trim style is a little different now, plus the color is different. So trying to match it is like borderline impossible. We had to replace all of it. We're not doing that. It's too much work.
And the other thing that we did too is we made sure to get the windows fixed, but we had to do it in a whack way. We basically replaced all the inside windows because the way that they are is that they're barn windows. That's what they're called. They're like shed barn windows that you just drill in. You don't actually put it into the frame. So what we did is we replaced all the ones on the inside. And then for the outside, for the broken windows, what we had to do is I went out there and I literally was picking out the glass shards on the outside windows. So that way it wouldn't be a danger. And like it would still have an inside window with like the glass shards picked out. So it looked nicer than just having like a busted window or whatever else. But we kind of gave up on the windows because the one quote that we got, the guy was offering to just replace the glass in these windows, not actually fix anything up. It was just to replace the glass, and 5 windows was going to cost us $1,500. And Derek and I were like, no, because that was going to set us over our budget, and we didn't want to do that.
We went and replaced 4 of the interior windows for like $400.
Well, brand new windows,
full windows.
$400 for brand new windows made a lot more sense than replacing the old windows, just the glass, and that's it.
We also bought some more screens too.
Oh yeah, we did.
Some of them were missing, some were broken, and then some weren't even the right size. So we went and bought some new windows as well to go ahead and we bought new windows for the inside, so that way the home was fully resecured again. Plus, you had access to be able to open it up during the nicer months like spring and fall.
Yep.
But then we also had the screens on there, so that way when you did open them up, you got the full usability of it. So from the outside, it looks good still because the parts that are missing the panes, you can't really tell they're missing. And then from the inside, it still got the full functionality. So we got it where we need it to be. It's just not 100%.
It's not what we would have wanted per se, but we couldn't ignore our business anymore. Because we were literally going to keep plummeting more and more things were going to slip through the cracks. We were going to keep forgetting more things. We weren't focusing on what we needed to. And that's not how you run an effective company. The people that are running the finances, the numbers, the advertising need to be doing that, not construction work. As again, we're capable of doing it, as these pictures are clearly showing. Not what we want to do. Not what we should be doing either.
Yep.
So we'll wrap up on that. We have updates on rental amounts, but that happened in this month of August, so we're going to put a pause on that. This is still for the update. So another update. Man, you gotta love the dumbassery of the court system sometimes. And this is baffling. So if you guys remember, the tenant that we had at 108 who messed up the house had filed an appeal to basically try to delay and extend out their time to be able to stay there. Well, we got a notice sometime either in the middle of last month or earlier this month of August.
No, it was it was basically 30 days prior to the court date. So it was
Okay.
End of last month.
So end of last month, we got a notice that we had to appear in court for the appeal case of the eviction on August 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on August 22nd, we had to appear in front of court for this eviction. So Derek and I are baffled
So
because
this is the original common pleas appeal.
yes,
We're having to still go to the
remember the bond for stay and everything else that we talked about
Yeah.
to like sit there and speed things along, and how the appeal was denied, and how the common police courts literally had to tell the police officers the appeal was
Yeah.
denied, and then that's what gave the police officers the ability to go ahead and go through with the eviction,
Yeah.
and everything was settled and everything was done.
We're still having to show up to court for it.
And the thing is, when we showed up on the 22nd, they canceled all cases that day because the day before a jury trial had ran long. It was running into today. And I'm over here like, him and I have spent like a month trying to call this court to sit there and get an answer. Nobody answers the damn phones there.
Ever.
And then that day, before I left my house, I had called them personally 4 times trying to get a hold of somebody to ask them, why am I appearing in front of court on an eviction appeal that has already been done? The eviction's done. Nothing is going to change. Let me give you some parameters of what this would mean if they overturned the case, okay? So let's say we appear in this appeal. They say, no, he does have the right to stay and that he does not need to be evicted. Well, the new tenants that we got in there would basically be getting forcefully evicted by the state. The police department would have a lawsuit on their hands because they acted without proper cause or jurisdiction and enforced an appeal that was supposed to happen. And then the state would potentially have a lawsuit because the court systems sat there and denied it and approved it and then turned around and overturned it later on. Why are we having a hearing on this? He never sent out proper summons. He never properly filled out any of the paperwork. We had no idea of anything that was going on with it until we got told that we have to appear. And when I was talking with the clerk of court there, they were like, yeah, well, unfortunately, because the person is going pro se, meaning that they're not being represented by an attorney, they have a right to be heard. And so this case cannot be closed out until both parties have been able to present their case. I'm like, so you're rewarding incompetence. I'm like, this is stupid. If I was sitting there and filing this as a business or anything else, you would be penalizing me and not even hearing my case and dismissing it. But because they are incompetent, you're rewarding incompetence for not following the proper processes, for filing a BS appeal and not properly doing it. They're getting rewarded while I'm being punished. And of course, by the way, while I was there 20 minutes early, because I usually show up early for court, he wasn't there. I'm just like, this is absolutely insane. So then I was like, whatever. Once the next day we can schedule this. They told me that they will reschedule it for the end of September. Meaning that had him and I not done the bond for stay, this person would still be not paying and not performing in 108 until September. And then in September, if the court case, which it would, go our way, we then have to schedule an eviction and do this whole process still, which would probably be another 2 weeks, meaning he would finally have been out of the house sometime mid-October.
And his original last payment was in February. So, and we filed the original eviction in the beginning of April. So he would have gotten, 5 to 6 months of free rent and owed us 7 to 8 months.
And all it cost him was $150
Yeah.
to incompetently file an appeal.
Yeah.
So needless to say, we still have to show up and deal with this, which the thing is, I find this absolutely absurd from a court perspective because it makes no sense. That same court, the Common Pleas Court, is the same one that agreed and approved and signed off on that his appeal was denied. And now we're having to go and represent ourselves in an appeal because the problem is in court, it doesn't matter how frivolous, how retorted, how pointless it seems. If the other party shows up and pleads their case and the judge sides with them, you have now lost everything that you've done up to this point. It's not worth it. You have to show up to these stupid lawsuits no matter what to make sure that you're representing yourself and just making sure that it's closed out properly, because they won't close it out until it is closed out properly. It's just, it is absurd. So yeah, we're going to a lawsuit. We're going to an appeal for an eviction that's already taken place that is being delayed and scheduled out for later and later. This is why Derek and I hate common pleas. We hate common pleas. Magistrate court runs very efficiently, very well done. You can always get in contact with someone. You can always get answers. Common pleas is a complete and total shit show.
And that's the big boy court. I want to remind you guys, that's where everybody goes to do anything that matters. So
you ever hear about class action lawsuits? Common pleas court.
Everything that legitimately matters is done in common pleas. Everything else is like usually like small man stuff, or it's just like easy, quick transactions. That's pretty much through magistrate. This is big boy court. This is the shit show court. So if we ever had to like sue a full-on company or something, that's the court we got to go through, or vice versa. It's
the court you can't get a hold of at all.
Yeah, it's insane to me that the one that has the most amount of importance and relevance is also the least efficiently ran.
Oh yeah, it's disturbing. Like that whole system needs an overhaul because this is bizarre.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's still a case pending on something that's already been done, like the actions are done. It's over with. There is no overturning it because it started becoming like a weird gray legal area to overturn that for an eviction that's already happened, to then evict out the people that are already in there and have paid on time, to overturn all of it.
That's the other dumb thing. We were actually just going there to see if there is a case. We weren't even going there to actually do the case, because this is like that first level of court where basically you just present your information and the judge rules, okay, yeah, this is something that actually has some type of relevance to
it. Needs to be heard properly by the courts.
So we need to actually go ahead and pass this on to a legitimate scheduled date for an actual case. So that would have meant that in worst case scenario, if we would have gone there and he did show up and appealed his argument, whatever it was, judge rules that there should be a case, it wouldn't have been like, yeah, you guys win, you guys lose kind of thing. Except for in our case, it would have been like, yeah, we're throwing it out like we already agreed. But in his case, they would have been like, okay, we're going to allow you to present your case. They would have been rescheduled another court date, which probably been about a month or two later. Then we would have had an actual day of scheduling a case, which means that if we would have won then, we would, same thing, 2 weeks later, then get the actual eviction done. But if he would have won, then like he said, it would have been that legal gray area. So that means that theoretically, there could have been another month to 2 months added to this entire time frame. Not to mention, we're coming up towards the end of the year, and court doesn't really do anything in December. So had it have gone another potential 2 months, we would have landed right about November range when court starts slowing down. We might have gotten pushed back into early December, maybe even January, depending on how lazy they got with it. And the other thing is too, we've already found out that Anderson County, specifically, they have a memorandum on evicting people in December. So I don't know if they would have done it, because that means they would have had to evicted the people that we currently have in 108. So they might have just put a hold on the whole case and be like, no, we're going to try this in January, like mid-January, when we actually open up the courts again, and the sheriff can actually go out there and fix this disaster. So that could have meant that theoretically, worst case scenario, this man could have been in this home for almost up to a year past the day that he was already late. That's how terrible our court system is right now.
Look, understand this. The court system, the idea of the court system, Derek and I are 100% behind. It is to make it a fair place for two parties with a dispute to argue their case and have a biased person make a ruling between the evidence and facts presented between the two parties. The idea and the implementation is good. To get to that point is retarded.
Yeah. It definitely needs to be somewhat overhauled, at least made a little bit more efficient, because there's too much stuff clogging the pipes right now, and it is just
Oh
a mess.
God, yes. So anyway, we're
Yeah.
gonna move on from that. So yeah, we have a court hearing
So we'll
at
give you
the
an
end of
update.
September.
Yeah, we'll give you another update next
We
month.
we are in August and we're still updating an eviction that's already.
Yeah.
I mean, this is stupid.
Dude.
Anyway, so the last update, Ford Explorer. Weird situation. So if you remember, we talked about how 122, the people had put down the $800 and they put down the Ford Explorer. They were supposed to pay the $200. They didn't. We considered that default and just took all that stuff as damages and whatnot. Well, they reached back out. They actually were asking to buy back the Ford Explorer. At the time, I had it listed for about $4,000 cash price, and then like a $2,000 down payment, and like payments that could be made on it from there. Well, they had reached out and just asked, is there any way that they could just buy it back from us? So Derek and I, we decided to just give it back to them at $1,900 versus trying to get it at about the $3,500 that we wanted, because it was originally their vehicle. They defaulted. Obviously, they already hit hard times, and they were honest enough to reach back out to us to ask it back. So we didn't want to price gouge them. We want to be fair, but we still wanted to cover our damages, because we did have other people that were interested in 122 before they sat there and they came in that could have been potential buyers that we were collecting rental income off of. So we did end up selling it back to them for $1,900. Transaction went smoothly. So that entire segment with the Ford Explorer is now closed, and that was some good money to put back in our pockets for, you know, all the repairs and maintenance we were already doing towards 108. But now we're on to new stuff. So 108, I told you guys in July I was gonna get no less than $1,300 for it, and I was gonna push for $1,500 with no security deposit. Guess what, baby? 2 days of advertising 108. I got exactly that. I got $1,300 security deposit, and got it signed off and done within 2 days of advertising it. We know this rental market like the back of our hand, and that was exactly right on the money. But that was obviously a nice repaired home that we were able to get rented, and we got everything done that we needed to. What about our homes that have been sitting on the market for some almost the last 6 months? We haven't had anybody in there. We're of course talking about 118, 122, and 130. Derek and I had a very long sit-down meeting, and we decided to overhaul our owner finance strategy. Derek came up with the vast majority of this idea, so I'll let him explain it. And then we just kind of tweaked it and tuned it, and then started putting it out from there. And then we'll explain the results afterwards. So if you want to explain what you thought.
Well, we've kind of already done it before. So if you remember, we have a tenant at 136 who's basically got a quasi payment arrangement already attached to his rental, where after a year, they're effectively in the first year, they're like a regular tenant.
A trial period renter,
Yeah.
basically.
And then if they succeed in that year, we then give them the credit that they would have received towards the option, and then we convert them into a standard lease option that we would have normally done up front had they had a down payment. So we decided to pretty much go with that same idea, and we pretty much just kind of looked at what we were charging for lot rent, what we were going to give in equity, and then what we're basically taking for the time in between. And from there, we pretty much just came up with the idea that if people just honestly don't have the down payment amounts, what do we feel is a reasonable cost that we can take to put them into the homes without giving them the option up front, because obviously if we put them in the option up front, we would have to deal with a potential equity argument. So we're going to keep ourselves protected by only having to do an eviction. However, there's still the issue of the eviction, so it could be a delay in the process. And pretty much all we came up with was that we would just do a little bit above what we feel is fair market rent for the actual homes. And then if they succeed, we give them pretty much that difference as their credit. So, as of this moment, if you want to point them out, like we do have 2 out of the 3 currently rented.
Yep, we have 118 currently rented, at $650 a month.
Yep.
Now, with this new program, by the way, beforehand on our owner finance, we never did background checks. We never did
Yeah,
credit
that's true
checks.
too. Yep.
Because of the low cost of entry, as a business, you have to understand, and this isn't to be an ass, this is just the truth. You're going to be dealing with the lowest quality people for the most part. Now, you want to weed out the people that are going to be a massive problem or going to be a potential harm to other people in the park and everything else. So we implemented, if you do want to do this route, no down payment, just do a rental agreement with us for a year, proof that you're a good, steady payer, and then go from there. You have to do a background check. So we background checked every single person that's wanting to do it that way. We still offer the option if you want to do down payments and first month's rent and then go into the lease option right away, no credit check, no background check. We still offer that, but we've been promoting and advertising this new program. Within 2 weeks of us advertising this new program and doing this total overhaul, 118 had a default where somebody literally put down money, agreed to it, didn't go and look at the property despite all our warnings to tell them they were wanting to do the down payment amount. They went to it, they wanted out. We decided to keep 500 as damages and then give them back the rest of their money from there. Then within a couple of days after that, we had to re-rent it again at 650. The guy has currently paid 550 towards that.
No, 500.
Yeah. I'm sorry, 500.
Yep.
And he's going to pay the remaining 150 supposedly today, and then his agreements are going to be signed and ratified and then go from there. So we've already basically collected almost $1,000 in 2 weeks off of advertising 118 on this new owner finance property. So that one's almost finalized and almost done. 122, we background checked an entire family that wanted to get into that one, wanted to start making repairs on it. They're from out of state, and that one was already currently rented at $600 a month under this new program that we've implemented. Within about a week and a half, those people showed interest and were already ready to go. 130, we have an entire network of people. We have started doing background checks, applications, and stuff like that for it, and we're looking to potentially have a renter in there. Based off the trends so far, somewhere in the neighborhood of probably the next 2 weeks. That would mean that we are almost back to 100% occupancy, except for the lot rental at 138. And that's what we're targeting. This program has been a massive success, a massive overhaul on advertisement. Because the thing is, the way we're advertising it before, most people aren't going to feel comfortable even reaching out to potentially offer something like that because they see that we're saying we need a down payment, they need this amount, and they're just looking at their pockets like, I don't have it. Like, I could do the work, I could do this, I can get cheap materials, but I don't have this money up front. With this new program, it's actually much better for us. Now, like any new program you want to implement, you want to know the long-term profit and the long-term gains from it. As weird as this sounds, this program will make us way more money in the long term than doing our typical owner finance route, because this puts them into an additional year of payments, meaning that we're going to sit there and collect anywhere between 10 to 20% more than had they've done our original owner finance amount, which is incredible margins on our end. So this has been a fantastic, great program. With us going into a recession, it's very clear that this is probably going to become a potential standard model that we're going to use moving forward on these lower end quality houses, because people want homes that they can own, that they can create and make their own. And if they have to put a little bit of work into it, it's not a problem. Their problem is always affordability and getting into said home. So we're very proud that this has worked as well as it has. This has been phenomenal.
The other thing that's always been a problem too is that almost every one of the people that we've gotten into some of our lower quality homes, their average credit score is like 500 at best. So even if they do,
and sometimes not even due to bad payments, it's just over leveraged, too many inquiries and stuff like that.
I'll say the most common thing we see is divorces. Divorces absolutely just divorces, and maybe they're still working off of a bankruptcy from 5 years ago. And so it just ruins their credit. And so generally speaking, we've pretty much the main thing is that when it comes to these types of homes, these people have money available to them, or they have they have a steady paying job, obviously, so they have set income that they know that they can spend, plus they have a little bit of disposable income. The problem is that even with their debt to income being decent, banks aren't going to lend against it because one, if they did have a bankruptcy, they don't want to get foreclosed on again, and then two, they don't want to have an issue of a potential another divorce or any other issues because they may have some collections on their account because of that divorce. So banks just don't feel good about lending against that. Plus, the other issue is that a lot of our homes aren't qualified for loans because one, they're not.
You couldn't get a loan on a mobile home.
Yeah,
like it's not going to happen.
It's like super hard for a mobile home, and they're not usually in. I can't think of the. God, it's not HUD approved. Maybe it's HUD approved. I can't think right now. It's not HUD approved. Basically, it's not livable for some of them, so they have to work into them. They usually have, like, for example, fix a roof leak or something, or fix water and electric and stuff. So they can't even get a loan on it if they wanted to. Plus, on top of that, our homes a lot of times are too low for the threshold that banks can even lend against. A lot of them require like at least a $50,000 asset or a $75,000 asset before they can even give you 60, 75, 85, 90%, whatever it is, to give you to go into the home. So even if they wanted to and they had the qualifications to match it, the bank would still probably deny them. So now we actually are offering it to people in a way that they can get the same affordability as if they would have had a bank loan with the steady paying job that they already have, irregardless of their credit, but still not like raking them over the coals to be able to even get in the front door.
Yep. And so this is, like I said, this has been great because, again, some of these homes have been sitting there in the market for 6+ months. It's absurd how much they've not been producing. And so this is putting us on a much better, faster track to getting us back on point with it. In fact, actually, real quick, because of how successful we've been with obviously the rentals, the rest of the mobile home park producing, and all the additional money we've been collecting over the course of this time with like defaults and stuff like that, we have been able to actually cover our entire cost for the rehab of 108 in just the last 3 months alone.
Yep.
It's been phenomenal.
So,
but go ahead.
One thing I was going to say too is that the other thing is we've mentioned this before. There's basically like holding costs that you have to factor in. So not only were we holding those properties for 6 months, but they were costing us money, right? Because one, they are, yes, an asset, but they still dilapidate, depreciate, and kind of fall apart over time. So if somebody's not actively working and fixing on them, then, for example, they could have a theoretical new roof leak, or there could be, I don't know, an animal that gets underneath of it and messes up the insulation, or if there's ductwork, messes that up. Or, I don't know, maybe like a leak through a window.
A herd of cats just pissing and shitting in it.
But the thing is, too, is that we're also incentivized to constantly try to keep them rented up, because even with tenants that could be potentially bad tenants who could damage the property, there's still the opportunity of something else damaging the property over time from just not being utilized. At least if we're making money on it, then we can theoretically, if the tenants are bad, we've recouped enough money to offset those damages. Versus if it's just sitting there. Plus, there's also the taxes, the insurance, the whatever else we have associated with that fee, like trash pickup and stuff. So the thing is that it's not just the fact of the fact that it's just been sitting there, so we're not making any new money. We're also still losing money, and so that opportunity cost still incentivized us to at least do this than to just wait for the bigger payouts. Because, for example, if we were going to do $1,500 down and $500 a month, that would have theoretically meant that we would have had to have waited, in best case scenario, like the house stays the same quality going from point A to point B, that if we would have waited 15 months, we would have broken even if we would have done $600 a month, because we're making an extra $100 a month. But once again, like I said, now we're at least making that extra $100 a month that we can continue to reinvest, and there's a theoretical possibility that they could improve the property. Yes, there's the possibility they can make it worse, but it was already going to get worse. So we've already factored that out as a kind of a break even. So now there's at least the two upsides versus the downside of the increased cost as well as the loss of income. So that's the other reason we did this, is because generally speaking, it's beneficial to just take some money than to just wait for the bigger payout.
And going into the recession, all that's going to happen is that we'll keep slashing our prices as much as we have to keep people constantly in there, if that's what we have to do. Because eventually, math and probability wise, 2/3 will fail, eventually you'll get that 1/3 that will succeed.
Yep.
And then they'll sit there and they'll actually make the park and like the home itself a better place, and it'll scale up from there. That's exactly what we're sitting there and what we're looking for. So it really is a benefit for us in the short term and the long term as a whole.
And to clarify, Vlad's already kind of touched on this. This is specifically a program that we're testing on our lower quality homes. Our higher quality homes are still coming with bad down payment. It's just
the damages that he was talking about, we have to keep that at a high threshold to get higher quality people, because of the fact that we can't eat the damages on it. It's not worth it to us to eat the damages.
Yeah, there's just too much risk involved, because we would have to have a payment that we would have to be able to recoup a potential amount of damages within like 2 to 3 months, which means our monthlies would be disgusting.
Like $1,500 for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath that's being financed.
Just so we could be protected in case they messed up or screw the whole house up, or like, I don't know, have their animals like pee all over the house or something. So it wouldn't be feasible, especially in our rental market. People would just be like, no, I'm not interested. And so it would be sitting even longer.
Yep.
Versus if we just put a down payment amount on it and then we just get the higher quality tenant and bypass that problem. You got to kind of play with your market and figure out what you're targeting in that case, and then also factor in the loss and the opportunity cost and everything else involved.
Now, 2 more things to update you guys on. This one's our fault. We completely forgot this one. Like, really totally forgot. I don't know when we got this, but we actually got another company credit card. It's called Capital on Tap. And that's $6,000. If you guys remember, we had that issue with Divvy where they just randomly nerfed our limit from 5,000 to 2,000 with no explanation. When we tried to get it reinstated, they refused to do it, even though we'd been paying on time every time. So Derek found another card, which is Capital on Tap, applied for it, got a $6,000 limit, and we're like,
well,
okay,
we didn't
great.
get $6,000 limit right away. That's the thing that makes us mad about Divvy. I'm pretty sure it was either a $2,000 limit or a $500 limit. I can't remember because we have multiple credit cards, but I think it was $2,000 for this one now I think about it. But either way, we had it for about 3 months. So we just recently started using it. We've only paid it twice, right? Because obviously the statement balance are a month behind. So we've only paid on it twice, and we've utilized it for a good portion of the repair that we just did. So we had a revolving balance of around $1,000, $1,200 that we paid off every time. Well, within 3 months, they jumped us from $2,000 to $6,000. And yet Divvy, we had it for almost a year. And then we paid it off every single time, and they dropped us from 5 to 2. It doesn't make any sense. And they still refused to go up on it. And we're like, what the hell? So, whatever.
And then an even bigger one. So if you guys remember, we talked about, I don't know if we did talk about it. So I'll kind of recap it. So the place we got all our flooring for the 108 renovation, well, we had sat there, and what we had done is we went to a place called Floor and Decor here in Greenville. Great place. If you need flooring, the cheapest, highest quality flooring I've ever seen. Like, they have all ranges, and all of it is good quality, from the lowest of the low, which is what we bought, to the highest of the high. Like, you're dealing with very premium quality floors all over the place.
And it is
tile, everything.
I don't know how it's so cheap, but it is freaking cheap.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculously cheap. Well, we have been applying for a credit card with them. Derek had been handling most of that on his end, and we got approved. And this is a actual credit card. We use it. We can sit there and like make payments on it. They have special financing and stuff like that for like bigger projects. We got approved for $14,500. It took about a month and a half to get it all done, but they approved us for, once again, $14,500. All the floors that we bought for 108, the grand total was like $780 for the entire floor, and we still had like 5 boxes of leftovers.
Yeah.
$14,000.
And that's on a still relatively brand new company, right? Because we've only had one tax return, and that one tax return was abysmal because I wrote everything to, zero us out.
Is it personally guaranteed?
I know the Capital on Tap one is. I don't think the other one is. They did use my personal income as reference, which is probably why it was so high, but I don't think it was personally guaranteed. So
if you guys know what personal guarantee is, personal guarantee means that basically there's a face behind the company that's valid. It's like a cosign that's co-signing for the company, basically saying like, yes, if the company can't pay, I promise I will. And then not personally guaranteed is everything is on the company. So literally you could bankrupt and default your company. It cannot come back after you. You never personally guaranteed it. So that's the difference between the two.
And a lot of people were afraid to get in a personal guarantee anything. There's loans that do it as well. The only reason we do it is for pretty much the startup, because first off, it's really hard to not get a personal guarantee in the first couple years.
Well, you got to put skin in the game, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you believe in your vision, you shouldn't have a problem personally guaranteeing
That's true too.
your vision. Like, I'm sorry, put your own skin in the game. But like, I understand not wanting to later on.
The thing is that the problem is there's a very minor amount of any trade lines, not just credit cards, that will be willing to lend to a brand new company with very few assets that are, you know, available to them. Because a lot of times most companies don't have houses. They usually have like equipment, or they don't even have a property. They usually lease the land. So it's really hard to find anything that'll be willing to lend to a brand new company, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, without some type of guarantee, because they don't know if they're really going to be protected outside of maybe a little bit of equipment that you have. So you're limiting your pool of available credit. Not only that, but also you're wasting your time, because if you're waiting for all these cards that don't come with personal guarantee, or loans without personal guarantees, that's trade lines that you don't have on your account that aren't building your credit profile in that time frame. Versus if you just bite the bullet, get a few trade lines on there, like 5 or so, that have some personal guarantees.
And play it safe. Like, if you're that work, just play it safe.
Just don't use the card that much.
Use it for gas. Use it for other business expenses. Use it for like small things like plumbing and stuff like that.
I use the Capital on Tap card as my personal card, and then I just pay it out of my personal funds because it is still personally responsible for it. And that way, it just makes it look like the business is utilizing the credits. That way, it makes it report and shows that we're utilizing it in some way, even though it's not really a company expense. But it helps build the profile, because that's the whole point. We're trying to lift it. So the thing is that now, at least with these personal guaranteed cards, we can at least have some trade lines on our account, so they're building our credit profile. The other thing is too, is that you can always take yourself off as a personal guarantor down the road after you've kind of,
as long as the card's in good standing.
So
it
like,
has to be in good standing.
So say you have like 5 years. Say we have the Floor and Decor card. We use it for like 5 years. We're pretty consistent when utilizing it. We spend like $2,000 a year or $3,000 a year on it minimum, and we're constantly paying it off. We're never late. We don't have any what are they called, chargebacks. We don't have any issues like that. I can always call them up and just be like, hey, I don't want to be the personal guarantor anymore. Can you please remove me? And if they say no, then I'll be like, well, I'll threaten to close the account. And then they'll be like, no, it's fine. We'll just keep it open. We'll keep it tied to the company. We might reduce your limit. Just be safe. We're like, okay, cool. Then all you have to do is just get yourself removed off. Now it's a completely separate company card. You're not personally responsible anymore. And you can keep doing that for all your new cards. And then, like I said, in that time frame, you're building that credit profile. So that way you finally get into the lines of credit that don't require personal guarantees. So you just have to, like you said, like Vlad said, bite the bullet in the first couple of years.
Well, the other thing is too, is again, you got to put your own skin in the game. You have to risk it. Every loan that Derek and I are ever looking at, whether it's investor or whatever else, him and I both sign off on it every single time. Not just for validity's sake of making sure that him and I both agree to it or whatever else, but it's literally, hey, we're both on the hook for this, dude. Like, doesn't matter if the company falls apart or whatever else. You and I, we're on the hook for it. We have to make this work, and that's the mentality you want. You want to always be in that mentality of, how do I make this work? I have to make this work. I have to make this work, because you don't want to sit there and just be like, it's fine. Falls apart. Whatever. Because that is exactly how things start falling apart, is once you start having that kind of mentality.
Yeah. Plus the idea of is like pressure makes diamonds kind of thing. The less pressure you have to perform, the less likely you are to perform. So it's always good, like you said, to get in the game, because then you have kind of like this thing eating at your back to make you actually do something.
Oh yeah, and it's not always fun. It's not always fun, but I'm telling you, it'll put you in a better position going forward. Now, the last thing that we have is an update. Derek loves T-Mobile.
Oh, yeah.
T-Mobile is his favorite company on the planet. They have the greatest customer service, customer support, and ability to keep their promises on any phone line that they ever have. So I'll let you take it away on that, because then it's the budget.
If it wasn't for the fact that T-Mobile is so cheap comparative to what we would have in other businesses,
I really do like T-Mobile Tuesdays, though.
And yeah, we get a lot of good rewards. Because just real quick, I want to throw out, because we spent so much freaking gas driving to do the repairs on the on 108 that we probably saved legitimately close to $100 just because every Tuesday we get like a 20% discount. Sorry, not 20%, 20-cent discount on our gas. And we had to buy gas for both vehicles because we both live about 35, 40 minutes away, plus the traveling to get parts and stuff. And we had to do that like once a week. So we legitimately saved a fat chunk of money. Like almost our entire T-Mobile bill was covered in just gas savings. So yeah, unfortunately, it is very, very good affordability wise for us. That's why we don't switch to like AT&T.
And the service is honestly great. Like
Yeah,
the
it's
same
not bad.
issue, the same problem areas I had with Verizon are the same problem areas I have with
Pretty much.
T-Mobile. I've not noticed a difference between service.
Yeah. So
Everything else.
with that being said, we'll get back into the problem here, which is why I love T-Mobile. So T-Mobile, since we've been part of their family, I guess you could say, their network of clients, they have always failed when it came to literally doing anything account-wide that isn't just providing the freaking service of making the phone work. So, I haven't upgraded my phone in 5 years. I've been using the Samsung Note 8 since 2017. It is now 2022. My phone has been slowly degrading over time. It's been getting to a point where it overheats a little bit here and there. Battery life is abysmal on it because obviously I use it daily. And so it got to a point where it's like, okay, it's time for an upgrade.
Yep.
Well,
So I tell Derek, I'm like, look, the company will cover a reasonable portion of it. I don't care. It's fine. Go get yourself an upgrade because he's responsible for the phone lines. If either one of our phones has to work, it's his.
Yes. So, conveniently enough, one of the phones I pretty much have to have, I don't have to have it per se, but because of my job specifically, I need to have a pen, something that can write on the phone itself. And so I'm kind of stuck using Samsung Notes or some various equivalents that can use it, like the Galaxies, but you have a separate pen for it. But the problem is that, okay, I'll get straight to it. Basically, conveniently enough, timing-wise, the Samsung Fold 4 was coming out that was usable with a pen. And with the pre-order bonus that you got with it, you got their specific pen for the Fold because it has that, foldable plastic screen that you can't use a regular S Pen on because it's like too sharp or something. So I was like, oh, cool. That's kind of what I need. I need a phone that already has a pen in it, so I can either just upgrade to another Note, or I can get a Galaxy and just buy an S Pen separate, or I can just go with the Fold, which is kind of a cool new concept. It seems like a pretty cool phone, and I'll probably stick with it for 4 to 5 years like I do every phone. I was like, all right, yeah, let me go balls to the wall and get that one. And I'm gonna pre-order it and do everything with it. So, I already knew T-Mobile was going to be a shit show. I just knew it because it's always been a shit show. Every time I've interacted with them, it has always been bad.
I don't know if it's consumer accounts that they do good at, that they just fail at business accounts, or what it is. But I swear to God, I've never had so many issues on a phone company with a business account. Even when I worked at Verizon, I never had an issue with business accounts.
Yeah, so to quickly remind you, if you go watch our videos from like January, February, and March of last year, there was the issue of setting up the account, which took us like 2.5 months to get it set up because it was such a disaster.
Well, we had to get corporate involved.
Then there was, I don't quite remember the exact time. I think it was like October, November, December range. I think it was Black Friday actually. So it was November range. If you watched that video, Vlad had a problem with his phone getting an upgrade. And then now we're at the point where I'm now getting the upgrade and we're having a problem. So I knew it was going to be a problem. So to avoid this issue, I decided to try to just buy the phone directly from Samsung to completely bypass T-Mobile and their problems. I was like, oh, this would be a great way to not deal with headaches. Well, unfortunately, unfortunately, Samsung was unable to utilize our account because they don't work with T-Mobile business accounts. They only work with T-Mobile consumer accounts.
Which just seems so dumb.
Which is so stupid.
That limits your customer base so horribly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of bigger business accounts, they have like 50 lines on there, and they usually use the same, like, cheaper model phones.
Yeah, so to clarify, I was trying to get it to where I could do the payment plan because it's 0% interest, and it would be stupid for me because of how we run our business for me to just dump $1,800 onto a brand new phone when that is literally a payment I could put towards buying another home. As you clearly see, we do a lot of owner finance, which I would rather just pay like $40 a month or whatever the price was than to pay $1,800 and lose an opportunity of getting into other houses. So I'm only going finance route. I don't care what I got to do. I got to get it. And we already had the credit available on T-Mobile because of when I got approved and got everything fixed from last year. So I knew I had the availability for it. So I wanted to utilize our credit lines too because it built our credit profile. So it's like a double whammy. Well, Samsung, like I said, couldn't use T-Mobile's business account. So I was like, dang it. Now I got to go through T-Mobile. So I call online and I go online and I call the business account and I deal with their Indian support center, which already
highest quality support center.
Yeah, so it was running into a major freaking headache because the only thing they were willing to do, they weren't willing to give me anything except their promotion for the Fold 4, which was a brand new line. So I had to open up a whole new phone line to get $1,000 off the phone, and then I can get the phone or whatever. Like
mathematically, you would end up spending like somewhere in the neighborhood of like what, $890 over the course of 3 years.
Yeah,
so you'd only save like maybe $200 on the phone and have to have a whole new trade line.
Yeah, it was so stupid. Like I wasn't really saving any money, and I'm not buying a whole new phone line when I already have 2 phones, and it was just a headache that way. And I was gonna try to possibly just do a new phone line, but then transfer my phone over to that line so I can keep the same number like a month later, to just keep them both open, but that wasn't gonna work either. So anyway, so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna do the worst thing possible. I'm gonna go into the store. So I went into the store, and I gotta admit, it was a very smooth experience, which scared the hell out of me, right? And I knew it was gonna be a problem. And sure enough, was a problem. So I went in there. I was like, hey, I'm looking to upgrade to the Fold 4. This is my phone. Can you upgrade this account? There's some pre-order stuff that comes with it, which is, you get an upgraded model of the Samsung Fold 4. Instead of being a 256 gig, you get 512. Plus you get the pen and you get like a cheap case. And I was like, give me all that. I'm ready to go for it. I got the account. I got the limit on my, I got the availability on my credit for T-Mobile for us to go ahead and do that. And they're like, okay, cool, we did it. So they knocked it all out. First thing they already did is my mom she's on our account as well. She has the exact same phone that I do. For some reason, they put hers as the upgrade account, so I had to get that fixed already. So I don't know how they messed it up because they logged in using my phone number and then somehow added the upgrade to hers. I'm like, what the hell? How did you screw that up? I literally gave you my phone number, and you had to literally look at my phone, scan the barcode for it, called the IMEI, it's like the social security number of the phone, and you still screwed up which phone line it was going on. So I get that fixed. Then I get my phone, and of course, I don't get the S Pen, and I don't get the freaking the case. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. I knew we were going to have an issue. The other issue, too, got to clarify this, is that they don't allow you to do the Samsung Care in the store, so I had to call in separately when I got my phone to get Samsung Care. Otherwise, it's going to be an uninsured phone, because their insurance was like $25 a month with like a $400 deductible, and I was like, absolutely not. And Samsung's was like $18 a month with like a $200 deductible, and I'm like, that's way better. Okay, I'll go with that. So anyways, so that was the other issue. And then on top of that, I'm supposed to be trading in my other phone, my Note 8, to get a credit. They didn't even know how much credit I'm getting. She just ballparked it. She's like, yeah, we see that you're going to get $30 up front, and then it looks like you should theoretically get about $470 additional spread out over the payment. So you should be getting a $500 credit. I'm like, okay, is that written anywhere? Do I have anything on contract? Do you have anything? No, the only paperwork I signed was that I'm paying $1,800 for this phone on payments. There is nothing written anywhere on any paperwork that I signed or got given to me saying that I'm getting any money, $0 from my trade-in. So I'm about to send my phone in and get nothing, potentially, because I have nothing in writing anywhere. I'm like, this is fantastic. So I'm supposed to be getting $500 in credit, whatever. Then, like I said, I got my phone in, didn't get the pen, didn't get the case. Called to say like, hey, I didn't get the promotions I was supposed to get. I got the upgraded phone, I got the 512 gig, but I did not get the S Pen and the case. And they're like, okay, well, if that's what you were promised, and we'll go ahead and work on it. Well, they got the case, they had the standing case, but they don't even have the S Pen, the Fold version. They have just the Pro and whatnot, and they don't carry it at all. They have none in their entire inventory for all of T-Mobile. They just don't have it. So I guess they just weren't working with Samsung to do that promotion. I don't know. Point is, they didn't have it at all, even though I was promised it and I was supposed to get it. They don't have it. So I was like, all right, well, at least send me the case. I'll just call Samsung and I'll see if they can supply the pen. So they give me the case, everything's supposed to be shipping to me later. Call Samsung. They said because I didn't buy specifically from them, they cannot guarantee the promotion. That's between me and T-Mobile. The best they could do is sell me the pen for $50. I'm like, I'm not paying for your stupid pen that I'm supposed to get part of the promotion because I pre-ordered your product. Provide the rest of the service. I don't care if you gotta fight with T-Mobile for $50. I'm not charging myself for it. I'm not. It's not how that works. I already paid for your product. Give me the what's supposed to come with the product. And they were like, no, we can't do that. And then I was like, plus I couldn't even buy it from you guys because you guys can't accept my freaking account. So I was like, it's your problem. You're literally saying like, well, you gotta buy it from us, but we can't accept your type of thing. But you're gonna get screwed out of $50 for a pen. And I'm like, this is so dumb. You're literally trying to just finagle me out of money. So I'm like, not working with it. So I go back to T-Mobile, call them again, and I'm like, hey, Samsung's not gonna provide me this pen. Here's what we can do. Make it super simple. Just give me a $50 credit on the bill, and then I'll just buy the pen outright. And so that way it all works out and everything's fine. I don't care. And they're like, okay, yeah, we can do that. But in order for us to give you a credit, we must do a 7-day investigation. I'm like, investigating into what? I'm like, it's a $50 credit. What are you investigating? It's like, well, it's company policy that if we do any type of credits, we must have an investigation from our accounting team to make sure that it's, whatever, it makes sense. And I'm like, holy hell. I'm like, fine, go ahead and do the stupid the investigation for your $50 credit. And then to top it all off, so I'm still in that process. I'm still waiting like another 4 days for this investigation to be complete before I just give up on all this and call corporate and have them handle it, because I'm trying to avoid having to use that number because I don't like to blow up lines with dumb stuff. Because
the problem is, I just don't think these people know how to work a business account.
So this was the cherry of the cake. This is the creme de la creme. I've never in my life heard of this, seen this, or experienced this, obviously. And okay, so the case comes. I know it does because I don't have any mail coming to my house, and I suddenly get this thing overnighted to me, and so I know it's the case. Plus, it's the size of the case. USPS, so this is the government postal service, delivers me a package. The brown box that has the USPS label on it, that literally is from USPS, the parcel thing, is in my mailbox, but it's open from the top. I'm like, interesting. I go and I grab it, and on there it says, we missed you for your delivery and whatnot. You owe us $4.71 for postage. I'm like, what? This isn't some cash on demand thing. This is a product that's being delivered to me. You can't deliver it unless it's already been paid for in advance, unless it's like I said, a cash on demand. I'm like, why am I being charged the money for the postage? Not to mention, why did you deliver it and then steal it from me? And now you're fleecing me for it. Like you're the mafia. Like, hey, Tony, you not pay your bill, you don't get it. We cut your finger off. I'm like, what I now have to go to the post office to pay potentially $4.71 for a product.
Free case.
Yeah, for a product that I was supposed to be supplied to originally, that was free, that I'm actually not even getting for free right away, because the way they had to do it is that they had to give me the case first, then it's going to be on my statement balance, then before the statement is paid, they're going to give me the credit of the case. So theoretically, they might not even credit it, and it might just be charged my account anyways. So now, I have to potentially either call back T-Mobile and be like, paid postage, or go to the post office and just pay it out of pocket for something that was already supposed to be provided to me.
Free.
And I literally have a box.
Have you even checked? Did you even get the upgraded version?
Yeah, I did. That's
okay, so at least one thing seems to work.
Yeah, and the only reason why I got the upgraded version is because
until they charge you for the upgraded version.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We haven't got a bill yet, so I don't know how screwed up it's going to be. I expect it to be a disaster, like usual. I'm expecting to see, instead of our normal $165 or whatever we pay, I'm waiting to just see, because I remember I was supposed to get a $30 credit. I'm waiting to see like some $300 bill because they just screwed the whole thing up. And that's when I call corporate and just be like, yep, you guys still suck. Please fix my account. Again. Every time. So, whatever. Last time Vlad got
if it does get this bad, I'm sorry. Nobody is touching our account except corporate.
Yeah, because, I mean, last time Vlad had to do it, and him and his fiance wound up getting, like, free phones out of it. So, who knows? I might get the phone free. I'm not planning on it, but I would like at least the bare minimum of my pen and my case. Even though I have a case, They had this nice little wallet case for it. Nice little phone, folds. Yay! I can get it open. Pain in the butt. Look at that! Wow, super cool. It folds and things. But yeah, pain in the butt dealing with T-Mobile. So that was the T-Mobile disaster that started. I'll give you an update in the next video on how that most likely won't be resolved. Because I expect it to be a multi-month issue.
So negative.
I am, because it's never been a good experience.
I know.
Ever. So,
I don't think these people can work business accounts. That's my honest opinion.
I don't either.
Well, anyway, outside of that, then now it's time for the budget, and we're wrapping it up. So this is a bit of a weird budget because, honestly, a couple months here. So we got so we got June, July, and August.
Yep.
Derek's gonna try to break it down as best as he can, but understand it's basically 3 months budget into one video.
Yeah. So, if you remember, we didn't do a June video because we just honestly didn't have the time. So I didn't even have the budget figured out then because we were just dumping money into those repairs. So I didn't even know where we were at. Then in July, we would get to the point where we were starting to free up a little bit of time because we had like a day or two that we had planned to do some like basic business routines. Didn't have a time to actually do the budget ahead of time, and plus we had our accounts all over the place because we had some things on payment plans, some things that were paid out already, some things that were just getting on the statement balance. I didn't know what our budget was at all. And then finally in August, because we finished up the home about 2 weeks ago, I finally went back and redid all of our budgeting, so I knew where we were supposed to be. So I rebroke it back down to where June was supposed to be, what July was, and what August is. This way, when I file like our quarterly reports and stuff, or for taxes and whatnot, I actually have it broken down again. But anyhow, so we'll start with June. So for June, pretty much we got every dollar that we're supposed to normally get. Nobody was really behind or late or any issues particularly. Just remember the only thing we weren't getting at that time was 108 was still non-existent because we were working on it. 118 was one of the ones that was vacant because I think we updated your last video. Maybe it was the video before that, don't remember. But the people that were in there eventually moved out, so we wound up getting that property back, so it sat for a little while. Then in 130, that one was obviously vacant, same thing. I think we updated you like a couple videos on that one ago. And then of course, 138 just doesn't produce. And the only thing we did have going on that time was 122, which we did update you last video on, which was at that point in time we had gotten at least the $800 down payment to start their earnest to get into the property, which then led into that whole car thing. So all in all, with the rest of our portfolio being 641 Barnwell Street, 946 John Hart, and then the fairly newly acquired 18 Eagle View, we got about $5,875 in total income for the month of June. And then for the expenses of June, we spent about $3,500-ish. I kind of rounded a little bit. I had the total amounts specified, but roughly it was $3,500 in the beginning of the initial repairs for the renovations of 108. So there was that expense. Then there's the regular expense we always have, which is like the water bill. At the time we had T-Mobile on that particular card, which being the debit card. We switched it up because Apple gives us a 3% discount now, so that's pretty cool. But basically just regular expenses, plus we started racking up things like gas bills and stuff because we keep traveling. So then we paid that bill. That was $1,025, and then we have our regular reoccurring monthly expenses, which is our virtual mail for Delaware, and then our online website or whatever. So that came out to like $70 roughly, and then the last $200, which is the lot rent for 18 Eagles View Court. So that bill came out to $4,795. And I'll give you the total profits and debts at the end. So I'm just giving you what the incomes were, what the expenses were. Then in July, same thing. Everybody paid pretty much. We did have a couple people pay a little late that caught up. And then we also had an interesting experience where 134, they actually had fallen behind on their electric for like 2 days. Well, if you remember, because of that whole disaster that happened back in January, every single mobile home in that entire park has a hold put on it that doesn't already have a permit that's been approved. So when their electric got shut off, they had to literally go through the permit process to get their electric turned back on. They literally had no electric, and they could not turn it back on, even though they just had it on like a day prior. So that's how stupid it was. So sure enough, they had to go through the permit process, and they did get the permit approved. So we split that cost a little bit. So instead of them paying the normal $470, they paid $425. So basically, they paid $45 towards the the permit. We paid the other 30. So they got a permit approved. We never got the paperwork, but we know it had to have been approved because of the way the whole system works and how the electric company just refuses to work with us. So they only paid us $425 that month. Outside of that, everybody else paid consistently. We did get an extra $30 from 126 because they had a late fee that month. But outside of that, everybody else was just regular payment. We did receive in total $5,110. And the reason the difference between the 2 months is just because we had that $800 down payment mostly from 122. So we received nothing from that month for 122. So that was once again $5,110 for July in total income, gross. Then in the debts, we had about a remaining $3,000 we had spent to finalize the repairs. Even though we had a little bit left over in August, I just put that in the July's because it was like literally August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd was when we bought our last little bit of materials. I just put that into the July budget. So all in all, our total repair budget was just about $6,500. To be specific, it was about $6,400 and some change. So not bad considering, we were there for about 2 months. It was like 7 weeks total.
It was just under 2 months.
Yeah, it was just under 2 months. And,
oh god, it was grueling.
And we saved a lot of money just because we did the physical labor. If we would have paid somebody else to do all that work, we probably would have been closer to around 11, maybe 12 grand. It would have been almost double that money. So we did save a lot of money, and like Vlad mentioned, because of the amount that we receive monthly, we've already recouped that cost, plus getting somebody into 108. So anyhow, so we spent about $3,000.
Except my labor, damn it! I demand my labor.
You get a retirement package right now. So anyway, so we got about $3,000 into that cost. Then we had a smaller bill for Divvy. This is just kind of leftover bills that we had, being $631. We had now, like I said, we separated the T-Mobile bill onto Apple, so now it's separately written down. So now it's $165 for that. The same remaining $70, the same $200. So on that one, we had a total debt of $3,866. Then we get to the big month, August, right? August was a really good month because once we finalized 108,
because we weren't doing construction all month.
Exactly. So once we finalized 108, we didn't have any continued expenses in renovating 108 because we were done. And then we finally started recouping costs because we obviously started doing our business again, which is making deals. So all in all, everybody pretty much paid that was due to pay. We do have one tenant at 136 who is falling behind. Normally they pay $700 a month. They've only paid $150 so far this month. They're trying to do $150 a week at this moment as a payment plan to kind of keep them semi-afloat until they get everything back to normal. And then we also had another late payment from 641 Barnwell Street where they just didn't pay anything this month. And they have, I don't know if I told you this or not. This was actually just today. Or no, yesterday. They have a company who's supposed to be paying on their behalf. It's actually Humana, the insurance company, like health insurance. They called yesterday and they did approve that they're going to pay us $600 because they owe us a little bit of late from last month, the late fee for this month, and the actual bill.
Gotcha.
So they're supposed to be paying $600. However, they said it wasn't going to come in until like 3 weeks from now. So I don't know why, but the lady said that she should be good for September. But anyways, so all in all, we didn't receive that money yet, and like I said, we received a reduced amount for 136. So we did receive the $1,300 for 108 because now we finally have it rented. So that's that amount. Then we have the other. If you remember when we were talking about earlier with 118, we had a person initially put earnest on it, then default, and we kept about $500 of it. But then we got somebody else to re-sign a couple days later. So they've put so far about $500 in of the $650 that they owe, and so as of this moment, we've received $1,000 from 118. Then we have the big one, which is 122. We had the car that we had initially taken as a part of the earnest. We then sold back to the original people who were getting that earnest, which that was the part of the termination that happened with them. So they got the $1,900. They gave it to us. Then we have the new people we signed on about a week ago who's paying $600 a month. So in all, 122 has actually produced us $2,500 this month. So that was a real big whammy. And then on top of that, everybody else has pretty much been paying. So in total this month, this income was $8,880. Then, like I mentioned, our debts for this month were significantly lower. where they were only the just the water bill again for the previous month, and then the $165 for T-Mobile, the $70 to $200, and then one thing I did forget to mention on here is that we also obviously do owe we do have the payments on here for the mortgage for the mobile home park. So all in all, that's like an additional, just throw in $2,000 to those as well. So with that all being said, after all costs have been associated, total amount that, well, I'll say this first, total amount that we received in gross first for the last 3 months is $19,865. Total expenses is, I'll just go ahead and add in the 1953 real quick. So the total debts that we've had for all of June, July, and August was $15,762. So once again, that is including the full cost of renovation. So even with all the cost of renovations, the regular holding costs that we have just for maintaining everything, plus our regular bills that we normally have, we still brought in more, just mostly in the last month, than we did in total expenses for the last 3. So all in all, our total amount that we actually received is, and our total leftover amount, this is net after everything, is $4,103.
So this is over the course, this is our profit over the course of the last 3 months.
Yes.
So we have still profited after spending almost $7,000 in repairs and maintenance to 108.
Yes. And this is also with 3 of our properties effectively being vacant for 2 months, potentially a 3rd month. And then...
No, 4 vacant in 1 month.
Yeah,
because in the month, the month of July, it was still vacant.
I forgot about that. Yeah, so we had 4 of our properties effectively vacant for at least 2 months, potentially 3, and we have money that was still owed to us for other things too. Because, like I said, we have a couple people that have fallen behind and haven't made payments, and we still profited $4,103, which is really good. Because if you think about it, if we did get the remaining amounts that's due to us, the other what is that? The $600 I just mentioned, and then the other almost $600 as well. It's another $1,200. If you add that to the amount of our profit, we would have almost profited alone on top of the cost, the entire cost to re-renovate 108 again. So all in all, I gotta say, I mean, even with us effectively neglecting the park and the rest of our portfolio, including our personal portfolios, for
oh yeah, our personals got neglected pretty bad.
Yeah, everything.
I'm still catching up.
Yeah, we pretty much got to the point now where we're almost back to being where we were about a month and a half prior. But even with all the fact that we've neglected our business because we were just so prioritized in one thing, and that one thing was costing us money, and we were bringing in less money, we have still not only zeroed out, but still came out significantly ahead. So, once again, just want to point out that this mobile home park has been, although a freaking headache, an insanely valuable asset that has been a godsend, honestly, because once again, all in all, if we just continue to maintain what we have at this moment, let alone if we get 130 rented, the mobile home park as of this moment, just by itself, I'm going to pull it up real quick, I have it in front of me. As of this moment, the mobile home park alone, not including, once again, 946, 18 Eagles View, and 641 Barnwell, is still producing a net of $3,616.97 a month. So once again, I'm going to clarify, just in the mobile home park in its current circumstances is currently netting $3,600. So if we get an additional, say, $600 like we're currently trying to get for 130, that would be $4,200 net after all costs, total profit monthly. That is people's full-on yearly income,
roughly, because there's going to be
not yearly income,
it's going to be an increase in the water bill and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it's but yeah, we're pretty damn close.
And then the other thing is too, some of you are going to be like, oh well, yeah, but you guys are going to lose a lot of money because you're owner financing these homes, and so eventually that money gets depleted. Well, yes, but no. So yes, we are going to lose a portion of that income. So for example, we'll go with 118. So that one is $650. Well, we have a standardized lot rent right now for the rest of the park at $250. But really, the $400 is the discrepancy between what they would be paying in lot rent versus what they're currently paying in their owner finance style program. So, worst case scenario, they pay it all off. We're going to reduce by $400. But you have to understand that the program that they're in right now is going to take them roughly 6 years to pay that off. We only owe about 8 years left on the mortgage itself. Meaning that eventually by the time these start paying off, assuming, big assumption here, that every one of these people actually come through, which once again, 2/3 on average fail, meaning that we keep resetting that clock for people to start over at the beginning. By the assumption that they do succeed, from this point forward, we only owe about another 2 years, technically less, it's like a year and some change, of mortgage left. And when we actually pay that mortgage off, the loss in the amount that we were owner financing will actually be less than the amount we're paying in the mortgage right now. So when we pay the mortgage off, we'll actually be back to being above than what we're currently at. Then on top of all that, that doesn't include the fact that lot rent won't go up. Eventually the water bill is going to go up, so we're just going to offset that with increasing the lot rent, plus a little bit extra for our time. Plus, as we continue to do renovations to the park and make it better, lot rent goes up anyways.
The average lot rent right now in our areas, the upstate area, I've been looking at this because I keep finding mobile homes for sale that like either can't be moved or like are in a lot already. The average is $400 a month, and not all of those include water and trash pickup.
Yeah.
$400 a month in lot rent.
Yeah.
These payment plans are for 6 years.
Yeah.
Our lot rent is probably going to be $500 a month.
Yeah.
So, based on inflation.
Yeah. So theoretically speaking, once again, we still don't have anything on 138, so that doesn't stop us from putting another mobile home there within that 6 years to pad that number even harder by the time we get to the point of the mortgage paying off. The thing is, the point is that even at the end of all of it...
Well, the other thing is, too, imagine this. Somebody defaults. We already collected the money off of it. We go into the home. It needs to be torn down. We find another mobile home. We replace it. Boom. Now we're back to just renting it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that can happen with that.
So...
But the thing, it doesn't matter. If 100% success, not a single person fails, we have 100% success rate, we still win. Yeah. I'm not going to be mad that we had 100% success rate. We'll still be fine. Yep. It's a benefit no matter how it happens.
Yep. And so the thing is that worst case scenario, as if like many fail or we're running into another headache like we did in January, we're still profitable, right? Just not as profitable. But the range between worst case scenario and best case scenario is massive. So worst case scenario, once again, barely making a profit, probably maybe like $500, $1,000, depending on where we're at financially. Okay, depending on if we get the mortgage paid off. Best case scenario, because we can always, once again, like you said, replace mobile homes, upgrade mobile homes, renovate mobile homes, owner finance mobile homes, add mobile homes, because eventually we could potentially go into that 22 unit park instead of just being at the 11 or 12 we're at now. The thing is that range can spread to where we could theoretically be making, even after the mortgage is paid off, upwards of $10,000 a month. But the thing is that, like, no matter what, as long as we just do enough to care for the thing that we have, so this is like anything you ever get in life, right? You buy a game console, you don't want to just beat it up, right? You buy some shoes.
Don't let it collect a shit ton of dust and cockroaches, like basic things.
You don't want to, when you buy a pair of shoes, you don't want to just be like scuffing them up, grinding them down on like, I don't know, anything
concrete.
Like concrete or something, or making them get like mud and everything else, and they're just getting dirty and messed up, leaving them out in the rain, things like that. You want to take care of the things that you have. So as long as we just take care of the thing we have, it will literally be giving us money back. And that's the thing that we always look for, is that as long as we take care of it, not like have to completely overhaul whatever it is, but just keep it good, then we can actually get a benefit out of it. And that's the whole point of why we're doing this, is because every investment, we go into that mentality of, we just want to get it to a point where we have like a maintenance level. Once it's at maintenance level, we continue to receive benefits to go into the next project, and then scale. And so that's where we're at now. So yes, it's been a year of rough disasters and headaches, and it's still a roller coaster. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, next month is going to be even better, or next year we're going to be even better. It could theoretically be worse. But like I said, worst case, still profitable. Best case, significantly profitable.
I feel like every single time we do these budget videos, it's literally been like a roller coaster, just tick and then keeps going up and down.
I will say this. With all the work and effort Derek and I put into this, I needed to work, be stabilized. I either want one or two things. I either want 3 months of peace and just things are moving along with like some slight intervention from us, or I want to find another project for Derek and I to start getting into while we have this additional income coming in. Either or.
And one of the other things that's hilarious is that I don't know why we've mentioned this when we first started the company a while back. There is this weird cycle that we constantly go through. It is routine since we've been in business for about 4 years or so. For some freaking reason, every time
it's like the waves of the ocean.
Yeah, every time we go, it's the same. Winter, disaster. Every year, winter is always a disaster. Proven T-Mobile from just last year. Okay, spring, gold. Just like this year, March, everything was smooth sailing. April was pretty good too, and then it went to crap because summer hit. Summer, shit show. Always a mess. Never works out. Sometimes it bleeds a little bit into fall. And then usually by around late September, early October, super calm, super smooth.
November.
Yeah.
Blow up.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how things ever get resolved in that month period, but as soon as we tail into December, peace.
Yeah.
It's like God himself said, no.
Yes.
Just stop it all. We'll pick it back up
every year. Like post Thanksgiving, we get this like lull where it's just like everything just finally chills the hell out after we've had a shit show just happen. And then January comes and it's like, here, I hear it's a new year. Time to rule.
I don't know if it's us because maybe him and I just say, no, I'm not dealing with it. It's December. I'm not doing it. And then it just piles up for us to start of January. I never understand the cycle. I don't get it because I feel like Derek and I are pretty proactive about getting things done, but I swear it always seems like all the problems of November just come back in January. It's like, okay, now we'll deal with it.
Yeah. So every time we were kind of briefly looking at this before, we're like, we're coming into the fall. Here's where our break comes in. And sure enough, we go through all the crap of summer. The break comes in. So we'll have probably like a month or two of just
the summer fall.
Yeah. It's like where fall starts and summer ends, where we just kind of tapers off. We have less problems. Like he says, November is like we just slammed into a wall, and then it'll be good for December. So either way, we expect to finally have a little bit of peace. We don't expect too much, obviously, because really our big thing that we're looking at right now is because we clearly see the signs of a recession. We've been reiterating it for like 4 months now. Long story short, I've been doing a lot of research because I always do. I'm never not researching. For example, Zillow just recently put out a report saying that the first time the average housing prices have fallen since 2011. So that's a big deal. We already are well aware there's a bubble there. There's bubbles everywhere. Crypto's been crashing for a reason. It's overinflated. Too many retail investors. Same thing with stocks. Overinflated. Too many retail investors. Of course, you're well aware of the rate hikes with the Fed. So less lending, tighter lending, more qualifications, more people defaulting, more foreclosures are on the rise because people that had variable rate mortgages from a few years back, their houses are now appraised higher, plus their mortgage rates, the points shot up on them, so now they just doubled their mortgages overnight.
Oh god, variable rate mortgages terrify me.
They're horrible.
You were incentivized to damage your house.
Yeah.
More than it's appreciating.
Yep. Plus there's still leftovers from the memorandum from COVID where people are still processing foreclosures because of how just backed up, as we just mentioned, our disaster of our come and please court. That's where foreclosure is.
And eviction, the amount of time it's taking to finish out this appeal, literally we could have done a foreclosure in this amount of time.
In fact, in one of our personal separate house that we have that's not part of this portfolio, we've been in a foreclosure for that one. We filed it in October of last year.
Not us getting foreclosed, us foreclosing
on somebody else. And we filed it in October of last year, and we still haven't gone to court for it. We do not have a hearing date. We still are waiting for the hearing date because it's been like, the discovery process, and then is there mediation, and then whatever else. We do not have an actual hearing date as of this moment. best case scenario that we've been told from our attorney, because of just how backed up this system is we might get a hearing date in October, which, as I mentioned before, worst case scenario, if we don't get a hearing date in October, there's that period where they just don't do courts. So if we don't get one in October, we might squeeze in November. If not, we're probably getting it in January, which means just like we were having with the issue with the eviction with 108, we're having to deal with this foreclosure for this other dude who obviously hasn't paid for almost going into a year now, just in dealing with the foreclosure timing. It's ridiculous. So there's those. That's why we know there's delays on foreclosures, because we're currently in one, going through trying to get on somebody else. So with all these pretty much things going on, plus the main, just a word of advice from previous years of just research analysis, typically you don't see a major economic downturn until it affects the common average everyday man. And I mean this more than just gas prices rising or food costs going up. What I mean specifically is the labor market, and that is always the last thing to get hit, right? There's always the rich, pretty much. They pull out of their investments, right? They tighten up on their money. They start doing like Scrooge McDuck here. They literally start
vaulting their money.
They put it in safer investments or things that just in general have equity or some type of situation where they can put their money into it, not touch it and lose it per se. So that's the first thing you'll see. That's why you start seeing, like, for example, stocks and crypto go down first. Then you're going to start seeing things that take a little bit longer time, because it's all about liquidity. How fast can you make the money move? And then you start seeing things that are a little bit longer. So that would be like your more like retail investing. So this would be like your real estate, for example. Some of the longer things, maybe like commercial real estate, you'll start seeing them start slowing up. You'll start seeing prices start drop off because there's less demand. You'll start seeing supply increase, which we've already been seeing. Inventory, which means how many houses are on the market for real estate agents, has been literally going up every single month. I think it's been, we have what we call the Upstate CREA. It's like a real estate investment group of some kind that we have here in South Carolina, that we talk with realtors there, and they've been telling us that consistently for the last 3 months they've had an increase in inventories that has been exponentially growing, which means that there's also exponentially falling demand, which lines up with the interest rates rising. And then on top of that, after you have things like the retail investments and stuff start dropping off, then you start getting into where businesses do large layoffs. And that's when you either see price cuts or you start seeing job losses, right? So you'll start seeing, like, for example, bonuses dwindle. So people that were originally getting bonuses every year, they start losing those bonuses. This also means even the rich, right? CEOs and stuff will start losing a little bit of bonuses here and there because this is not as much available funds because there's less buyers for their product. There's also, like I said, people who were getting whatever pay rate they were getting will sometimes get a pay rate reduction. So not necessarily a demotion, just a pay rate reduction. And then outright losing hours too, or losing jobs. And those typically happen in the large quarters where retail is at its highest, which is always quarter 3 and quarter 4, which is going into the holiday season, because that's when everybody starts buying everything. They pretty much just, you tail off of quarter 1 and quarter 2 with whatever money you're making throughout the year. Occasionally you go spend a little bit in quarter 2 to go on vacations. Very, very commonly though, most people save up a lot of that money and they start spending it all through the fall and winter, prepping for, like, Thanksgiving. Halloween is actually a pretty big spender as well. So your Halloweens, your Thanksgivings, and your Christmases. And so that's when you're going to start seeing the big layoffs, because the seasonal hires won't be as high. There's going to be less buying, and companies are going to start cutting costs. And so you're going to start seeing raising rates of everything. Plus, it's also right around the time of election cycles, so it also comes in the political spectrum as well. So generally speaking, we're clearly in a recession. We won't see the actual effects of recession until possibly quarter 4, definitely quarter 1 of going into next year. And then you're going to probably see, some people are predicting it's going to be like a more dramatic recession than 2008. I don't know if it'll potentially get there. The reason why 2008 was a specific recession is because it was dedicated specifically to our, obviously our over leveraged lending in the real estate market, plus our incredibly horrifyingly bad insurances that we were doing, which was like why they would call them things like The Big Short, if you ever watched that movie. So we have policies in place to kind of stop doing that, so we don't have nearly as bad overlending in that regard, but that's only in real estate. We had that same problem happening if you've been keeping up with. Our auto loans are atrocious right now. Currently our used cars are estimated to be about 37% overpriced compared to their actual relative value. Cars are maintaining value significantly higher than they should when you take them off the lot. So when you get a brand new car, you drive it off the lot, becomes a used car, it's maintaining significantly more value because of the current resale market than it ever should have. Even though repos are up substantially. And we're getting into the clear bubble in the auto loan market, plus there's other personal loans, payday loans, title loans, all this sort of stuff that's way over leveraged. Currently, consumer debt is at the highest it's been in like 25 years. And yeah, we're clearly at an issue where people are borrowing and unable to pay. And yeah, when you get to that point, you get to a point where everything collapses and everybody goes broke for a little while and they just start throwing money under the mattress. And that's when we come in, because we had the money set aside, to then start buying into some cheap discounts.
Best advice in regards to, like, if you're just an average everyday person that watches this, cut down on your debts, pay off your debts now while you still have a chance. Like, if you have credit card debts, like these like just these retarded debts you don't need. They could sit there and start bringing you in more income monthly. Pay those down, and then try once you've paid those down, 'cause that's priority number one. Once that's paid down, then start saving.
Yep.
Like, start back rolling money, because the thing is, you're gonna experience hardship. You're not just it's a worldwide economy. Thinking that you're gonna be safe from it and you're gonna be fine is the most narcissistic thing you can do. You will be affected, just like the rich are affected, just like we are affected, just like everybody is affected.
Oh yeah, we've already been planning in advance. I think we mentioned this last video. We're planning in advance of losing about 30% of our general income, because
that's why we're so aggressively trying to increase our overall income. And him and I have been in a mad dash. Like, we don't talk about it in these videos, but personally, him and I have been in a mad dash, killing as much of our debt on our personal side as humanly possible. Like, Metra is stable enough on its own right now. We're not as concerned, but our personal side needs way more work.
Yeah, if you remember when we were doing the startup for Metra, we talked about before that we had started over leveraging our personal. One, we were a little leveraged anyways, because we always stay pretty high leverage because that's how we invest so aggressively. But also, we were just a little over leveraged because we had to pull so many funds to start the business, and then we had to like use funds, personal funds here and there to keep maintaining it, especially when we got in a really rough periods about a year ago when we were running into those situations where we were paying for that incompetent contractor and then dealing with the damages and then loss of incomes and all that other stuff. So we've been recouping that money for a while now, luckily, because this year has been a much more profitable year. So we've been recouping that money and then paying those debts down. So there's a whole bunch of options out there when it comes to what you should do in terms of what debts to pay, when to pay them, how to pay them, in terms of like getting yourself into a free, financially independent state. Just a general rule of thumb, at least investing wise, whenever you're prepping for a downturn, is a 40% rule. Keep your debt to about 40% of your income. So really dumb numbers. If you're bringing in $10,000 a month, bring your debt down to about $4,000 a month. That means you have $6,000 set aside to do whatever you need to.
And then if you're gonna have a 30% decrease, your debts aren't going away. Your debts are gonna stay at 4,000.
Yeah.
But you can handle that 30% decrease, because now 30% of 10,000 is 3,000. You're still bringing in 3,000 in profit. Not as nice as it was before, but you're in a much more comfortable position. In fact, you can technically go a bit lower if you had to. You could even go 50%. Now you're on the wire, but it can't be done.
Yeah, because the last thing you're gonna do is to be at, say, 70%, like you just said. Right? Actually, we'll just say you're at like 75%. That means your debts are at $70,500, but you lose 30% of your income just because of people defaulting. It's hard to find renters, rental rates drop, things like that. Assuming you're an investor, and you lose 30% of your income. Now your debts exceed your income. You're at a net negative, and now you're having to do the exact same problem as everybody else. You have to borrow money, which means you're paying debt with debt, which is a vicious cycle.
That's the death spiral. Yep. The second you start paying debt with debt, you have created a death spiral for yourself. And if you do not find alternative sources of income, because clearly what you're bringing in already isn't cutting it, you have to find alternative sources of income. And if you can't, congratulations, you literally ended up putting yourself in the worst position possible.
Yeah, so same general logic happens to even just a regular everyday man. Just reduce your debts as much as you can, percentage wise to your monthly incomes. I'm not saying like, your overall debt, like pay off your mortgage tomorrow. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if there's a way to reduce it, so even if it's a refinance, for example, if there's a way to reduce that debt, that's possibly something you might want to look into.
Like you got a $2,000 credit card or a debt or whatever else that's costing you $150 a month. You pay that off. You're not paying that $150 a month anymore. You've now reduced your debt.
Yeah.
Your debt liability has been reduced. And while it's not preferable, you now have more spending power because that $2,000 didn't go away.
Mhm.
It's still available to you to borrow at any point that you might need it in the future.
Yep. So that would be like options we're talking about. So the main thing is just to reduce your burden of debt percentage to your income, and this means your gross. So it's like you and your wife, you bring in total of like 10 grand, like you bring in 5 and she brings in 5 or whatever. Then you need to somehow get your debts as low as possible. The reason why is because in the off chance that say one of you loses your job, well, if you brought it down to 40% where your debt to income is $4,000 to your $10,000, and one of you loses your job, you're still profiting $1,000 a month. You still have enough money to set aside in the bank. You still have enough money for pop-up expenses like a blown tire or water heater burst or something like that. So you're still able to put money set aside for savings. You're also, the other issue is too is that one thing we're not necessarily clarifying is that your debts will technically go up a little bit, but it's not specific debts like your mortgage or your credit card stuff. Those will remain stable. The things that will go up obviously is like we already have been going up. Your gas bill, your food, sometimes your utilities will go up and things like that. So those bills will go up. So it is a little hard to bring that number down, but the idea is to pad it as much as possible to where you can offset losses because you've already prepped for it. So just get to a point where you feel that even if you were to lose like 50% of your income or 40% of your income, combined income, I mean, you still feel comfortable because there's always possibility that could happen. You don't expect it to happen, but it's always best to prep for the worst and, expect the worst and be prepared for it. So generally speaking though, the thing is while you have money, while you have a job, while you have income coming in that exceeds your debt, don't do stupid frivolous things. My opinion, obviously you can do whatever you want. I would recommend to not do stupid things like blowing on a vacation right now, blowing it on big personal expenses like a TV or a car or something. Don't add to your debt right now. It's a bad idea. Pay down those debts. Pad that number because realistically speaking, when you go into the recession, you can always get those toys or items or vacations later, and it'll also be at a cheaper price. So you're actually getting more value for your buck. Your purchasing power will increase. So with that being said, that's just my general recommendation for the upcoming effects of the recession. Like I said, we're already in it. We're just not going to see the effects for a little while.
You probably have about 3 or 4 more months to prepare, which, I mean, believe me, that's still more than enough time to adequately put yourself in a position. Alternative income sources are so easy and so readily available right now, such as like plasma donation. Like you could sit there and you could also delivery services, Amazon Prime, like doing Amazon Flex or stuff like that. Finding alternative sources to pad yourself out. Yeah, that's the position you want to be in. Like that's also the other thing too, why him and I have to prep for probably 30 or 40% decrease is because a lot of our tenants are already living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
That's the worst position to be in going into a recession. Like you, at minimum, you want at least 50% of your overall bills available to you as additional income.
Yeah.
But they don't have that. So yeah, it is what it is. But I think that pretty much wraps it up on my end.
Yeah, I think we're good. So overall, great month. Very hectic, very busy for the last 3 months.
Please, just one more good month.
Yeah.
Is that too much to ask?
So, assuming everything goes pretty well, I don't know if we're gonna be doing too much into the next month because really we're still catching up on what we're doing with our personal portfolios and getting everything kind of calmed down from the previous 2 months. So we might just be continuing to update with what we already had in this month, obviously like T-Mobile for example. If we get any of the other properties rented or if we have any defaults and then we re-rent them, things like that. And then outside of that, we're still looking for investments like always. Don't get me wrong, we're never not looking for investments. But
we just have to be a little bit more selective about what we're going to put that investment in and making sure that whatever it is still has about a 40% spread
Yeah.
between the investment amount and what we're putting it into.
Yeah, we'll just say we're less incentivized to do an investment right now because everything's bloated. So really,
Dude, I'm seeing mobile homes that have to be moved that are in like meh condition. People are asking 40,000. I'm not even kidding you. 5 months ago, that mobile home was free.
Yeah.
They just needed it moved.
Yeah. So now they're just trying to inch out every dollar. But you can see in the market that prices are dropping. So clearly people are getting desperate. So either way, and plus we just got a list of list pending properties in our area and they've been increasing every month.
Mhm.
So people are getting foreclosed on. So with that being said, like I said, probably not too much in the next month, but we're still going to keep you updated every month like we do. And, well, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep everything high and profitable. So we'll see you in the next month. Thanks again, guys.
Peace.
Peace.